Everyone's so quiet today.
I was keeping my mic muted because I was eating something.
I think everybody's just tired of the rain.
Really? I'm still enjoying it. Probably because I'm working from home.
Yeah.
That means I don't have to water the lawn.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice. Keeps
That's
the electric bill down a little bit, but
yeah.
You can't mow it either.
It's even better. I have guys that come mow for me now. I've gotten lazy over the years, I guess. They could get it done in like 20 minutes compared to me doing it like 3 hours. So
it is amazing how fast they can do it.
Oh yeah, they got like 5 guys doing it, all at once, and I'm out there by myself. So I'm like, well, I think it's worth it.
Question, do y'all know who Aiden is? It's A-I-D-A-N? Ring a bell?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
We have someone in the waiting room, and it's their name is Aiden, so it's A-I-D-A-N.
A-I-D-A-N? I don't know that person.
No? Okay. Just asking.
I'm going to ask this question as part of the meeting, but my understanding is that there was no public sign up for speaking today, unless I'm
right.
Okay.
I think you still have to ask, though.
Yeah, we'll go through it. Yeah, but this is not a guest, so. But anyways, it's 5 o'clock, so Koji, you may begin.
All right, so I'll call the meeting to order. Today is July 13th at 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order for the Parks Board meeting. Thank you all for attending. So as part of the agenda, we have the first item is the public hearing. So I'll ask the question officially. Is there anyone that signed up for a public comment or hearing?
No, sir.
Thank you. The next item I have on the agenda is the workshop, the review of and discussion on proposed Brazos River Park Phase 3 improvements utilizing the voter-approved 2013 Park Board funds and modifications at the Town Crown Festival Park and City Park. They'll be presented by William Ajik, Assistant Director of Parks and Rec, and Faylene Adu as Park Development Manager. So with that said, I'll hand it over to y'all.
Hi, good evening. Can you all hear me very well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today, we are very excited to give you an update on the Brazos River Park and the Crown Festival Park next phases. I will first update the Brazos River Park Phase 3, and then William will talk about the 2 projects at the Crown Festival Park. After that, we're going to take any questions or comments. So Brazos River Park project is part of the 2013 bond election. Over the last several years, we built Phase 1 and Phase 2, which include the park access road, parking lots, restroom, landscape connector road between Brazos River Park and the Memorial Park, and also all the associated utilities. All these improvements have made Brazos River Park more and more popular outdoor social gathering, exercise, and event place, especially during the pandemic. As Phase 2 ribbon cutting took place in May 2012, it is time to kick off the Phase 3. There's approximately $1.5 million budget remaining after Phase 1 and Phase 2. Originally, the Phase 3 would include a pavilion, trail, and mid-lake improvements. After reviewing the Brazil erosion studies, City Council and the staff have concerns on the development of the Mid-Lake area. So based on the master plan recommendation, some other public feedback we received over the years, we propose to build a pavilion, playground, and social trails for phase 3. Next slide, please. So for Brazil Park Phase 3, it not only allows us to add community amenities at a regional park, but also it makes Brazil Park and the Crown Festival Park a greater event destination. Brazil Park Phase 1 and 2 already prepared good infrastructure, including parking, road, restroom, and utilities. Phase 3 will add great value to the community utilizing existing facilities. In our park system, a pavilion with a playground nearby is always very popular for residents to rent for birthday parties, group gathering, or celebrations. So phase 3 will be able to meet the demands and generate more revenue for the city. Next, please. The site is located at the northern tip of the Brazos Bowl, next to the existing parking lots and the restroom. In addition to the pavilion and the playground, we will provide pathways, bike racks, picnic tables, benches, barbecue grills, site lighting for the pavilion, and landscaping irrigation. Next, please. This site is also one of the higher grounds at the Brazil Park. It might be on the left. It's an aerial photo of Brazil Park right after Harvey in 2017. The site is well above the water, even at the worst flood event. Even so, we will choose materials that are sturdy enough for flooding, and also they can be easily cleaned, power washed off after the flooding. Next slide, please. These are some existing photos of phase 1 amenities to show the material palette. Our goal is to match the materials used in the existing amenities and also find opportunity to tie back to the mural art pattern at the overlook. Next, please. This left photo is the entryway to the Brazos Bowl, which with the concrete seat wall and the iPay wood benches. On the right is the photo showing the stone veneer wall of the restroom. Next, please. So here is the conceptual site plan we designed in-house. From the north side, we extend the concrete entryway to a large pavilion as another anchor of the access from overlook to the Brazos Bowl. The overall concrete pathway is similar to the upper bowl at the overlook. A poured-in-place rubber surface playground is located at the south side of the pavilion inside the oval loop trail. The playground is surrounded by canopy trees to provide shade when kids play. There's plenty of meadows, benches with filtered shade for families and friends to gather and watch kids play. The playground has room for a variety of play equipment for kids at all ages. The poured-in-place rubber surface not only provides safe floor surface, easy to clean, but also is opportunity to have artistic pattern to make the playground more unique. Next, please. This is a quick bird's eye view sketch for the concept design. At the bottom right, that's the existing concrete entrance. So you kind of walk into the large pavilion. And then there's a walkway extended to the playground behind it. And there are canopy trees around the meadow, the walkway, and the playground. We also have benches lined up at the at the walkway. It is also about a 1 minute walk to the restroom, which is kind of at the upper right corner. The entrance to the restroom is at the upper right corner. Next, please. This is a comparison of the site before and after the design. The Brazos Bowl is about 7 acres. It's huge. So with the phase 3 development, there we have some interesting amenities to offer, but also we still have a large open space for outdoor event setting, such as climbing walls or choo-choo train or like a Kung Fu festival. So this site can accommodate a lot of small, medium, or large events. Next, please. This image on the right example of the pavilion. The pavilion shall have similar style and materials as the existing restroom. Based on the conceptual design, we think the size will be about 70 feet by 45 feet, which is larger than the main pavilion at the Memorial Park. It can hold about 150 to 200 people. The example is also a design-build product. Our experience is if we use a pavilion that's on the shelf, from the shelf and with some modification, typically it meets our needs with the least cost. We also integrate the Brazos River Park logo to the pavilion facade design for branding purposes. Next, please. This is a quick front entrance elevation sketch. You can see the existing concrete wall at the front, extended from entrance to both sides, and then there are monumental trees and the shade trees to create an inviting arrival experience. And you can also see the different play structure behind, where kids can safely run and have fun. Next, please. Talking about the playground, it will be large enough to include a variety of play equipment. And we also like the playground to be designed around the theme of Brazos River. The put-in-place rubber floor surface is very easy to maintain if it's done correctly. It is also an opportunity to use different colors and patterns to represent Brazos River corridor. The blue ribbon you see in this graphic is the river course from Brazos River course from River Park area to Brazos Landing / Riverstone area. The play equipment chosen can be inspired by river-related elements such as bridge, boat, canoe, rocks, treehouse, tree logs, wildlife, etc. Overall, we would like this playground to be unique and has a lot of play elements so that they are interesting to attract kids from toddlers to teenagers. Next, please. This is a more detailed concept plan showing how the different type of play equipment can fit in this area. It's probably a little bit harder to see, but you can see we can locate that a large complicated equipment for 5 to 12-year-old. And then on the right, there's a parachute ship equipment for 2 to 5-year-old. And then at the upper right, there's an iconic climb structure. Also, we can have a large swing sets that accommodate kids with all different capabilities. And we also have, we can also place the zip line in the middle so that it's not only interesting and exciting, but also it does not block the view from the pavilion to the woods on the south side. And there is also very nice meadows surrounded by shade trees where parents and kids can sit and enjoy a picnic or nice conversations while watching their kids to play. Next, please. Very quickly, those are some examples of the PIP, which is the poured in place rubber safety surface for the playground. We can make it, we have the opportunity to make it very unique and also tie back to the wildlife and artistic concept, art concept. Next, please. Also, there are some, the PIP also allow us to have some room to do other games that can be just painted, can be painted on the PIP, and it's easy for the kids at different ages. Next, please. Those are some of the equipments that examples I mentioned earlier. We will be able to work with the playground vendor to make to adjust the colors, patterns, and the themes. But overall, it shows, you know, it shows the different play elements that we envision for this playground. Next, please. Project status. Right now, we have complete the initial conceptual and the preliminary cost estimate in-house. While we are doing this, we actually contacted the potential pavilion vendors and the playground vendors in order to be more realistic about the cost and the things that we can get. And then moving forward, we would like to contract with a consultant for the design development, construction documentation, and construction administration. Their scope will include all the hardscape, planting, irrigation, electrical, and grading and drainage. And then certainly there is pavilion design and also coordination with the playground vendor. We actually just had a meeting on site to discuss the next steps. So we are very, this direction was presented to City Council on June the 22nd by Joe, and then they seem to support this direction. So they asked us to give you an update on the concept design. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation to William to talk about the Crown Festival site.
Next slide, please. Good evening, Parks Board. Thank you, Phone Lin. In this section of the presentation, I want to talk to you all a little bit more in depth about possible pump track and skate park just across the way from the project Phone Lin was talking about at Brazos River Park. This one would be at the festival site, which is just across the levee from Brazos River Park. We've been working alongside economic development and engineering to look at a study of a pump track at the festival site. We're in preliminary design right now with American Ramp Company. They're the ones that we worked with on the skate park at City Park. And their sub company is Velo Solutions that builds pump tracks really all over the place. They have some in Paris, Texas, in Arkansas, and in San Antonio. And they're building their second one in San Antonio. I went and looked at the McAllister Park pump track in San Antonio, and Joe's looked at some pump tracks in Paris, Texas, and in Arkansas. So a very quality pump tracks. We're in preliminary design with them right now. The purpose is to create a regional destination and outdoor regional sport opportunity in Sugar Land, unique to Sugar Land, meet the increased demand of the biking community in Sugar Land, promote the health and outdoor lifestyle of Sugar Land residents, further energize the Crown Festival Park and Brazos River Park, attract regional visitors and contribute to a vibrant local business, strengthen Sugar Land's exciting image of a great place to live, work, and play, and then support the All-In for SLTX placemaking initiative that the city has. Next slide, please. If you don't mind hitting play on this video, it's going to give you a little bit demonstration about what pump track is. Hope it works.
Okay, 1 second. Is there sound on this video?
There is sound on this video, yes.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna stop the share real quick and I'll restart it. 1 second.
No problem. While it's waiting to play, this is a video of an Arkansas pump track that Joe actually went and visited. It is a Red Bull tournament quality pump track, and that's an example of what we're trying to build as well here in Sugar Land at the festival site. This video is pretty short, but it gives you an idea. Thank you. Next slide, please. I know that was a short video and it was a little choppy because we're on Zoom, but it gives you an idea of what an asphalt pump track is. It's BMX, mountain bike, kind of all-wheeled sports. I've never driven a pump track before in my life. I took my daughter to San Antonio and we rode it for a couple hours, and even my 7-year-old daughter, got on her mountain bike and did it just fine after just a couple of warm-up laps with Dad. And then we were both off to the races on it, and it was surprisingly fun, and it really got my heart racing. So the reason we chose the festival site, for a few reasons: it has convenient parking close by, and as you can see from this map, you can see that the pump track is on your upper right in red with the green dots around it at the Crown Festival site. And then Foneland's Brazos River Phase 3 project that she spoke about is the bottom left. So it's very close proximity to that project. It's just on the other side of the levee. It has convenient parking that's lit, has lighting as well. The restroom isn't too far away. Existing lighting is available. Can connect to existing on-site storm drainage. There is a storm line that runs right through that area, so we can connect to that really easily, keeping costs down. We are protected by the levee at the festival site. That's probably the #1 reason we like the festival site for this project. We're not in a floodway or flood zone or 100-year floodplain. It keeps costs down. We do need U of H approvals. EcoDev is going to help us with that because the Crown Festival site is on a 50-acre lease from U of H. We do need to get approvals from U of H for vertical structures, which we're in the process of working through that. This is funded through the Sugar Land 4B at $500,000. And that includes the pump track, the site amenities, shade structure, and the concrete connection. Next slide, please. I spoke about the shade structure and concrete connection. Here's a little bit more details of that. So as you can see that we'll have connection to the existing ring road, Crown Festival site ring road and parking lot. We have a proposed shade structure of about 20 feet by 20 feet. Shade is very important in the hot Texas weather. Future shade trees can be implemented as we get donations or as my staff have time to plant. You can see we have a little starting area, a beginner's track on the left, and then a more advanced track on the right. This track is a tournament level track. Most of this is about this when you race, like if a Red Bull were to come do a tournament here with the events team and our Sugar Land support, then you'd most likely probably put 2 people at a time. They'd race counterclockwise to each other, and then it would be a time deal. And you compare times, much like swimmers compare their times in swimming in different heats. There's an existing stormwater line that we'll easily tap into to get this site to drain. Next slide, please. We actually proposed 2 different options. American Ramp Company worked with us in great detail to propose 2 different conceptual designs to the public survey that we put out to the Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association. Overwhelmingly, their responses were for this option here on your right with the beginner track. We think it's more family friendly to separate the beginners from the more advanced, and it gives the beginners more of a comfortable feel to ride without riding by themselves without advanced riders. This track will be unique in the fact that it will have a wood wall ride. It's on your upper right. It's a wood wall ride that just acts more for advanced riders and gives Sugar Land a unique experience. We have about 13,000 square feet of asphalt surface. Total area is about 22,000 square feet. The next step would be to enter in a design build contract with American Ramp Company and get some construction documentation done via buy board contract, and then ultimately get it to city council for approval so we can build it. Next slide, please. Here's a rendering of the option that we selected based on the survey results in our own internal discussions. As you can see, it's just another view of the wall ride and the advanced track, and then the beginner track on the right, and then the concrete approach up to the starting hill. Plenty of room to spread out and everybody take turns and wait on each other to ride this thing. In San Antonio, it was a little misty, so there wasn't a whole lot of people riding, but I talked to the lady that built the Sugarland, the San Antonio track, and she said that it's important to have an area for queuing because it gets very popular and people need to kind of wait their turn, and they do very good at self-policing themselves. So that was good to hear that. And she had very good things to say about Velo Solutions, an American ramp company. So we are excited about that. Next slide, please. So the next project that we could implement into this pump track project would be to relocate the skate park from City Park over to this area at the festival site. The skate park at City Park is popular, very popular since we redid the ramps, and it's heavily used. There is some noise issues from the residents near City Park because at City Park, it's in that pavilion that's very adjacent to the ditch, and on the other side of that ditch is residents' backyards, and they've complained about how noisy the skaters can be. The skate park and pump track do have similar users, so it's very compatible with each other. This synergy for greater destination. Relocating the skate equipment allows the covered pickleball court at City Park, so we could convert the existing slab and covered pavilion at City Park to 3 pickleball courts, which is increasing in popularity and in demand. Even though we have 4 courts striped at City Park tennis courts, there's a lot of tennis players and there's a lot of pickleball players, and this would give the pickleball players a chance to have their own area, covered area. This would be a one-time funding in addition to that Sugarland 4B budget. Next slide, please. As you can see from the sketch before and now, you can give it an idea of what the skate park would look like in relation to the skate park, to the pump track. That is the existing skate park ramps. They would be disassembled and shipped over to this site on a new slab, 72 by 100 foot slab, and it would complement next to the shade structure that we'd install. The shade structure would be dual purpose. It serve the skaters, the spectators, and the pump track riders. And the skate park equipment would be utilized over on this site. It would not be new skate equipment, but it's like new because it's fairly new equipment. And there's no issues with residents nearby for noise complaints at festival site. There's no residents anywhere close to the festival site that could hear the skateboarders play on this. And as you can see, it's just adjacent to the pump track and it's just seamlessly together. Next slide, please. So the existing City Park skate park pavilion would go to a pickleball court, 3 pickleball courts. It's 100 foot by 72 foot, and it is covered. And I know that Kimberly and her team have tried to have a couple of tournaments out, pickleball tournaments out at City Park, and I know that I think 2 or 3 of them were rained out. If it's covered like this, there's fewer chances of her pickleball tournaments getting rained out, and she can have some. Now, heavy rains that come in sideways might cause some issues, but a light rain or even just a straight down rain, you'd be able to play out there. Even if you just had to just squeegee out a little bit of water, you could be back up and playing within an hour or 2 versus days and days. So this pavilion is also lit, so the pickleballers would be able to play after dark, just like the tennis players play after dark at the City Park tennis courts. So it seems like a good sport for that location, and the noise is not a complaint not an issue. Pickleball is not a noise complaint issue at City Park at this location. And as you can see from the map, top left, you can see the residents are fairly close by the skate park pavilion, which would turn into this pickleball pavilion. So noise would no longer be a complaint, an issue there. Next slide, please. And with that, me and Phone Lynn would be happy to take any questions that y'all have over all 3 projects.
Hey, wow, thank you. Can I just say wow? That's great. Thank you to William Fanling for that great presentation. So I know I have some questions, but I'm going to go down the list of all the board members that have comments or questions. So I'll go ahead and start with Kelly. I saw Kelly on. Do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, thank you. I'm usually toward the end, so I'm excited about this. A couple questions for both William and Feng Lin. On both projects, are either or both of them going to be fenced so that people would have to either have a pass to get in, or you keep small kids out, or after hours, or anything like that? And so like, will they be closed at a certain time? And I'm thinking particularly about the zip line on the one, and of course pump track on the other. And then on Feng Lin's project, I'm very into supporting activity for all structures. So as many of those, I've seen award-winning projects where they have the structures that are for all abilities. So as many of those type of structures as we can get in there, I think that's wonderful. Let me see. I think there was one more. William, on the pump track, is there a maintenance issue on the asphalt? Like, how long does it last? When does it have to be redone? That type of thing. And that's it.
Great, great questions. Can I just start regarding the Brazil Park, and then we'll turn to William. The Brazil Park Phase 2, it will not be fenced. Those elements like the play structure, the pavilion, they are typical community park amenities, and typically they are open to the public. Even for the zip line, there are, all the zip lines I have seen in town, they're all open to the public. So we will not fence off that. And then in terms of the play structure, yes, definitely. For kids now ages, we want so much to drag them away from their electronics. So we are all passionate about getting very interesting play equipment for kids at all ages with all capabilities. So yeah, we are definitely on board with that, and then that's going to be our goal when we move forward.
If I could add to that, the port in place, the PIP call surface is much more compatible to all abilities than the wood fiber. Even though the wood fiber is ADA compliant, it can be a challenge for all-wheel sports. And Kelsey's even shaking her head in agreement. And port in place, thank you, Kelsey, offers a little bit more expensive option, but it's better for maintenance. It's better for if it gets flooded, which we don't think this area will get flooded because it didn't get flooded in Harvey, but you never know these days. And then it's also way better for all-wheel sports, our all-wheel capabilities. Our First Colony 88 playground is port in place, and it holds up very well, and it's very durable, and it's way more accessible. So yes, we're definitely looking at that. The pump track and skate park will most likely not be fenced. I had a conversation with San Antonio Parks and Recreation and with my police liaison, Jason Brandt, and they don't seem to be concerned. San Antonio said they're not having any vandalism issues or after-hour issues. I think if it becomes a problem, we can look into doing something else. But when the parks are closed and gets dark, typically people leave because there's not a lot of light except in the parking lot, and the police do an excellent job patrolling my parks. So, and Jason Brandt, my police liaison, did not seem to be concerned at all. So I think that's the route we might go on that, just to save costs, because fencing is quite expensive. You asked a good question about the asphalt maintenance, and I'm glad you asked that. It's something that I had a little concerns with at the beginning. I know I bounced it off of Joe a few times, and I'm always looking at maintenance because it's something my guys have to do for all eternity. My guys are good at it, but we don't always want to do it all over and over again. But quite frankly, the asphalt is really the way to go because you can't shape concrete as tight as you can asphalt. And then we wanted something a little bit more unique, a little bit more softer, a little bit more grip. And we just couldn't think of a way that we could shape. We asked American Ramp Company, and they said they really can't make these shapes that we wanted with concrete. And asphalt, if maintained, does hold up for a very long time. This is a tight grained asphalt, and they hand pack it in. And we're going to ask that they seal the asphalt after the emulsion settles off of it. And we will have to keep resealing it probably every 5 years, but it's something we'll have to just include in our budget. If we keep sealing it every 5 years, then it should keep the maintenance down on the asphalt. Below the asphalt, 2 to 3 inches of asphalt is going to be compacted limestone. So we're going to have a very stable base to put this asphalt on. And we're really looking at, we really did a good quality control on American Ramp Company and asked around to see how their ramps are holding up. Me and Joe and Phone Lynn went to a pump track complex. The name's evading me. Joe, do you remember the name that we went to?
The Rockstar Energy Drink.
Rockstar Energy Park.
Bike Park and up by Greens Point.
And Joe can chime in if I'm wrong here, but we looked at 2 or 3 of their asphalt tracks and I wasn't that impressed. Some cracking, some alligator cracking. It just kind of meandered a little bit more than I thought it should. And we asked the operator there and he said, yeah, it was an American Ramp Company and that he wishes he could level his and use American Ramp Company. So we were like, all right, I think we're going down the right track here. So yes, it will need some maintenance, but it's something that we'll have to just keep an eye on and make sure we budget for that. I hope that answered all of your questions.
Yes, thank you both very much.
Those are great. So thank you for that response and the questions too. Next I have on here Kelsey Lowe.
All right. This is amazing. Lots of cool food for thought and future directions. I have many thoughts, but to distill what I've got, I love the idea for the playground. I love that surface, that rubber pouring surface. I 100% back that decision. We didn't do that at the Arboretum and we regret it. It's just much, much more accessible. I definitely second a call for inclusive and accessible playground equipment, whatever can get put in. For the pump track and the skate park, I think it makes logical sense to put the two together. I think it's a great idea, especially so close to the parking lot and to the eventual new playground. I must say I will be sad to lose the skate park at City Park. Not that I use it, but it seems like the kids have a really great time there and it's really accessible to them. Like they can walk to it, a lot of kids, whereas I feel like it's going to be harder for younger kids to get out to Brazos River Park. It's not that far, but I mean, it's going to mean a drive rather than a trot down the street. So I am a little sad about that. But if there's too many noise complaints, I guess that's a given. I can't remember. I was going to ask another question. I forgot what it was. But anyway, full support, amazing ideas. Really excited to see where this goes.
We can circle back around to you if you remember later. So the next person I have on here, Ms. Johnson, Kelsey Johnson.
Thank you. Great presentations, very clear, very excited for this development. I just wanted to clarify, am I to understand that because of the erosion issues related to the lake area, that part of the project has been nixed, and so those funds are being reallocated to the playgrounds and this phase 2 development that you described?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. I love the idea for the playground and how it has a nice tie-in to the theme of the river being in such close proximity to the river. I think that there are some educational opportunities also to layer in about, native species and riverbeds and flooding and all the rest. So I'm really excited to hear about that. I wonder if it's just too cost prohibitive, but I do wonder if there is any opportunity to integrate a water feature into the playgrounds or like a mini splash pad or something that's interactive for the kids that is more directly water related. I know that's also, we're always looking for spots to cool off in the summer heat, et cetera. So just wanted to throw that out there if it's possible to do something like that. And I also like the idea of the playground elements being something that attracts kids of all ages and all abilities. So I echo everyone's support of that as well. The only question I had around the pump track was when you described the opportunity for tournaments and such, like competitions, Is there a vision for how to integrate any seating, or where do the spectators go in that case?
Yeah, good question. And I think we'd like to build it and just kind of get an idea of how we're going to arrange these tournaments. But definitely the focus was a large enough track that Red Bull would be interested in hosting a tournament with our assistants at this location. And then, of course, the events team obviously would look at it and to see, along with economic development, to see how else we could do it. But I do think if it's a large enough tournament, we'd have to bring in some infrastructure similar to how we bring in some infrastructure for all of our other large events like Kite Fest and July 4th and Memorial Day ceremony. So I think it might lead to having to bring in some elements. I also think that one shade structure may not be enough, but maybe in the future, if we figure out where people are congregating or sticking around more, we can just do a by-board contract with USA Shade or a local playground rep and add some more shade somewhere else. So I think it's a learning curve for us right now. And San Antonio didn't have any shade or any restrooms nearby. And it's getting just used. Like she said, the only thing about her pump track is she can't keep people off of it. So, but there was a request for more shade, and I think we've done that in budget. And we've got, future shade trees to plant, but we do want to figure out where the circulation is and where to plant trees and where not. And I think to answer your question, I think we have to bring in some more infrastructure to do a proper large tournament like we do other events.
Sounds good. Yeah, and I had never heard of a pump track. I had never had any exposure to it, but I think the way you described it, it makes a whole lot of sense, especially since we've already got those mountain bike paths and there's familiarity with that, and probably that's going to be an asset that a lot of people utilize. It also complements really well the playground structures in terms of that intergenerational appeal. So you've got, middle grade and older kids also possibly utilizing those spaces with the skate park and the pump track. So love y'all's vision. It feels very cohesive and integrated, and I appreciate all your intentionality.
Thanks. And you're right. It is very close to the existing mountain bike trails, and they just as quick ride over and they'd be at the pump track. And then it's pretty much, as soon as it dries off, it's ready to ride. I rode it with my daughter, Ella, like 3 minutes after it rained. It was good because everybody left and left me and my daughter alone to experience the pump track pretty much in peace and not get embarrassed. And it was interesting to see how quickly we were able to ride it after a rain. It was interesting. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun for those guys. They're super excited, and gals, and they're super excited about it. The Fort Bend Mountain Bike Association president asked me about the pump track all the time. He's so excited to get on it and ride. My daughter's still asking me when we're going back to San Antonio to ride the pump track. So, and 7-year-old and so I thought that's pretty amusing. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Great, thank you so much. Next I have on here Joan. Joan, you have some questions?
I'm unmuting. Yes, I do. Thank you. First of all, Fingland and William, you don't let much grass grow under your feet. Those are amazing projects. Oh, my Lord. How exciting. And I'd never heard of pump track either, but I want to get my grandkids and go get our bikes and get on it. But the first question I had, you said, you talked about shade and ornamental trees. What trees are classified as that? Because it looks like the ornamental or like Japanese maple or something that blooms.
Well, the ornamental trees, we are more thinking about crepe myrtles and maybe Mexican plums. We have not got to that point yet, but we want to. We already have some tree palette, material palette in Perez River Park. So we want to stay within that tree palette.
Okay.
Certainly, we want the blooming at the entrances. It's not going to be Japanese trees, Japanese maple. I'm sorry. It's not going to be Japanese maple because it's not in our current list. And also, Japanese maple needs a lot of shade. And we have not find it very successful in our Perez River corridor area. So, And then for shade trees, love Mexican plums. Mexican plums do well, and then they have early spring blooming, and then crepe myrtles have long summer blooming. So we are kind of thinking along those lines. And then shade trees definitely meant to mainly provide shade in Texas. Everybody loves shade here. So we are kind of we're thinking about like bur oaks, cedar elms, Mexican sycamore. We haven't got to that point yet, but we have a handful of shade trees to choose from, and they do very well in the Brazoria corridor area.
Thank you, Fingling, because we are the tree city. So I knew you already had a plan. I was just curious what that plan was. My second question is, with the zip line, will there be fees? How will that be managed?
Zip line, it's getting more and more popular in this area. I right now, whenever you go to a neighborhood, even a neighborhood park, they tend to have zip line. So typically, it's just self-managed, just like any other regular play equipment. It's not going to be like a extreme zip line like you see from a resort or a camp. It's probably like 80 feet long or 90 feet long. So it will be able to handled by the parents and the users themselves. It's not going to be dangerous, but interesting enough or exciting enough for the kids to play.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question, or it's really a comment. I love that surface that you can put patterns on and with the jump. And the thought that crossed my mind is to have a hopscotch and have possibly off to the side a large tic-tac-toe game or chess game or checker game for those people that are more intellectual. But I love all the ideas. And let me see, I think that was all. And I love the idea of putting the skate park and the pump track next to each other. Although I thought the first thought I had was the kids won't be able to get to it as easily as they can. And I'm also in support of having a pickleball court that's covered. So thank you for all your hard work. I love the ideas.
Thank you, Dow. Next I have on here is Heather.
Thank you. And thanks, Lynn and William. Those were great presentations, thorough concept, and I know you guys did a lot of research. These are some great amenities that I know all the residents and my friends are going to be really excited to hear about. I really like the large pavilion, the playground area. I like Kelsey Johnson's suggestion about water feature for kids because I agree our kids are always looking somewhere to cool off. I like everyone else's suggestions as well. And the skate park looks really great and the pump track. So now I'm really excited. You guys covered all the questions and all the thoughts I had in your presentations. The one thing that I had was really, this is what I've seen at some other places is they really do a lot of branding and just showing off that this is are we doing any branding that shows like this is the City of Sugar Land Park, City of Sugar Land branding anywhere in these areas? Because I've seen other places really do that well. And I just don't remember seeing a lot of it at some of our parks. Maybe it's just at the entrance, but even just a name for Constellation or Crown Festival Park, like for people who aren't from the area, since it's going to be drawing a lot of people from outside of our area, like for them to know where they are when they're actually there, like for them to remember, like, oh, we're in the City of Sugar Land. This is the Crown Festival Park. So that would just be a suggestion, but all the concepts that you've shared already are really great and I'm really excited. So great job.
Thank you, Heather. I think that's all the other board members. Tracy's not on, correct? I didn't see her. Okay, so if I may put my comments out there, I think that was fantastic, the presentation. In fact, I wish I had those items growing up, with the being biker and all as a kid. So I do have a few questions. So William, I think you had mentioned potential lighting in those areas, maybe the pump track as well as the park area. I know that's eventually coming. I'm assuming that's going to be the case, and maybe as part of that, you put a timer on there during light, because it's not going to be fenced or closed off for public. But a lot of times those kids will go out during the night, but and also during the winter times, it gets a little darker earlier. So with the lights, I think that'd be great to have. And you think that's something we could propose, I guess, later as part of that development?
It quite possibly can be. Basically, the parking lot is lit with Acorn style LED light. And so that's on all night for security reasons, for the police officers to be able to check the parks. Close by this pump track is some festival site light poles. They're about 35, 40 feet up, and they're 1,000-watt metal halides. And I've got one pole that's shooting 3 lights that way, and he's got 3 lights going the other way. I could flip that around and possibly do 6 lights towards the pump track. And then there's existing electrical that I can add more poles. That would be a future project, though, because that's not the budget right now.
Right.
There's an opportunity to add more lighting onto the existing one lighting. But primarily, we're looking at doing a dusk to dawn type situation, because that's the park hours of Brazos River Park and the festival site. The festival site really is unique in the fact that it's not really a park, it's a festival site. It's really reservation only, but people do walk around the track. And it is a dusk to dawn, pretty much. Brazos River Park is dawn to dusk.
Great. Thank you.
In the hours of the pump track, because of the popularity, there's existing electrical that we could add more lighting to, but there is currently one and maybe another pole that's pretty close by that's lighting up that field fairly okay. And it is on a timer system, and we can absolutely control when it comes on and when it comes off. Yes.
Yeah. That's fantastic. One last question I do have. I know there's a lot of tree planting around each event area. Are there also plans for additional trees to be planted in the general area? Because I being on the festival site, it's open concept, and I know that's part of the plan because of kite festivals and other festivals that are going on. But are there in future plans to plant more trees, kind of generally in those areas, to provide more cover for people?
You're right in the fact that the festival site is an open concept, and therefore there are not a lot of trees. But the pump track, the future plan would be to plant more trees around the pump track, because it's a vertical structure, and we know nobody's going to be flying kites over there. Then it gives us an opportunity to plant more trees over there. If that's me hand planting some 30-gallon trees with my staff, or bringing in some spade trees when they become available and Fort Bend County's truck is available, it's all depends on the availability and what we got coming in. But I tell you this, I do get here and there, I get opportunities to plant trees and donations, and people love to donate trees too. And KS Keeps Your Land Beautiful likes to donate trees too, and we do tree plantings every year with them. So there's a couple of opportunities there for trees. And then, so yes, the new playground and pavilion would probably get trees during the construction bid out phase. And then maybe additional trees as we need them, or as we as we get donations, or as staff has time to plant trees. And the pump track most likely wouldn't get trees at first, but then we would look to be planting trees as we get them and incorporate that into future.
Okay, great. Oh, I lied. I do have one other question. Before I do, I'm going to ask Kelsey Lowe. Did you have other questions that you remembered to bring up, or no?
I remembered that my question was about extra shade over the skate park, and I think someone already talked about that that's a possible future direction. So it's already answered.
Okay, thank you. But my last question, I promise, it's regarding the lake that y'all have brought up, that lake that was supposed to be phased in, that's not going to be, it's not doable because of the soil conditions, the type of soil around that area. So is there any other plans to incorporate additional lakefront in the park area, other than that one that's potentially is canceled now?
Not really right now, not with the ongoing erosion study along the Brazos River. This particular area where we're proposing these improvements are actually an area, the river has cut and fill sides. And so this will be a fill side. So it'll actually have more soil deposited along this particular stretch. But there's just concern about doing excavation that might be that close to the edge that could potentially breach the river and where the lake could be, and not knowing, they just wanted to have a lot more knowledge that'll come out of the flood study, and everything that we're putting in is really in line with what was on the bond package for that area, especially the pavilion and shade and that sort of improvements. But I wouldn't say it's totally ruled out, but until they get a little further along in the flood study, I think the safe thing to do is to put that on the back burner, but still move forward with the rest of the project. There's also plans in the long run for another lake area up closer to Highway 59, which is also on hold for right now too.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your response on that. So with that said, we are on the last item. We have the director's report. Joe Tresser will give the parks report for this time. So Joe?
Okay. Yeah, I'll jump right into that. Okay, first slide. The city's been working with our cultural arts manager and our economic development department on some mental health projects. The first project that we're working on is murals, and we're looking at a number of parks, including Brazos River Park and Memorial Park, to do a mural to provide information just to sort of help people if they're going through some struggles. This kind of came out of, we've had a couple of incidents of people committing suicides in some of the parks. And so we wanted to reach out and have some positive messaging and some information that could be available to people. And kind of out of this same initiative, the idea of doing some boxes kind of based on, the little free libraries, boxes that you see out in neighborhoods now. And we're proposing to put some of these boxes around the city too. Still working on the final locations for these. These won't only be in parks. They may be in other areas near high schools or busy pedestrian areas, just to provide some mental health information where people could possibly go to get some help if they were having some struggles. So just part of that overall initiative for mental health information to share with the public. Next slide, please. This is a project that's been ongoing for a while. We've been working with the Cullinan Park Conservancy on ways to better manage the vegetation that's grown into White Lake there around the boardwalk and overlook area. The Conservancy raised funds this last year to hire lake management. There's a company here in town, if you're not aware, called Lake Management, and they do a lot of the HOA lakes. We have a contract with them to do Memorial Park Lake and Eldridge Park Lake, and they're the experts in the area of vegetation control. This particular location at Cullinan Park is very challenging because it's just had many years of vegetation growing into the water. There's invasive species there that have been introduced that have really taken over. Cattails have been really aggressive there. So there's a combination of doing some spraying of the water as well as some physical cutting of the cattails with some machinery that Lake Management has. And so the idea is to try to get more open water out so you have more areas of the lake that look like what you see on the left-hand slide here and less areas that look like what you see on the right-hand slide here. We know it's going to be an ongoing project, and once it's cut and cleared and sprayed, it's going to require some continuing maintenance on that. But the idea is to really try to keep it or restore it to more aesthetic appearance, as well as also being able to make it more appealing for people to want to get out and kayak on it, and also just the aquatic wildlife and fish life of the lake to be able to make it a more healthy body of water. So the spraying started back they kind of were delayed because of all the rain, but then got started. And it's starting to take effect. You can see from this picture on the right, this was some of the cutting and spraying that's gone on. So It's probably not in its best condition right now because it's in the process of dying out and dropping to the bottom. But we want to kind of keep up with the process and really try to make that lake as aesthetically pleasing and as healthy as possible. So like I said, that's just an ongoing thing. So if you were to happen to go out there right now and see it looking brown, that's what's going on. It's part of this process of killing off the vegetation. Next slide, please. At the Imperial Park Recreation Center for a good number of years, around Valentine's Day, we've had the dad-daughter dance, and it's always been really popular. And so the last 2 years with COVID going on and just concerns surrounding COVID, we weren't able to host that event. We've generally called it the Sugar Gala. But we wanted to be able to, not postpone an event that long and try to get some people back into the recreation center. And so Kimberly, Heather, and staff came up with the idea of the Sweet Soiree. It's a family affair. Instead of just being a dad-daughter dance like it's been in the past, it would be for the full family. Fathers, daughters, mothers, sons can come to the rec center, get dressed up, have pictures made. Our staff at the rec center does a great job of decorating the rec center to make it look like a really high-end party atmosphere. And so they're moving forward with that and are going to do that later this summer on July 31st. So they are already taking reservations for that now. Next slide, please. And just kind of a quick recap of our Food Truck Friday concert series that was held in June. We had 3 dates originally. One did get canceled due to weather, but we were able to hold 2. And this is the first ones that we've done. We actually had a live band there. It worked out really pretty well. This was also at Sugarland Memorial Park at the picnic pavilion. So we plan on continuing to try to host these as we can going into the future. And one of the thoughts with the Memorial Park pavilion that you saw tonight was hopefully being able to do some food truck series there at Brazos River Park at our new pavilion there in the future. Next slide. I think some of y'all attended the ribbon cutting for the Brook Street Bridge mosaic back in June. It's a really beautiful tile mosaic that was added to the bridge structure there along Brook Street. If you haven't had a chance to drive by there, it's really pretty. It's turned out really, really nice. It's very bright, vibrant colors, and it reflects butterflies and birds and flowers for the area. So it's a project that's been worked on for quite a while. And I know you as the Parks Board have seen a number of presentations leading up to this date and getting it completed and having the ribbon cutting. So thank you all for your input and review and being part of the process for this. It's nice to see one being implemented after you see it kind of from the kickoff stage and just the idea stage to being completed. So it's nice to see that happening. Next slide. And on July 4th, the Red, White, and Boom was held. We had it all set up for a wonderful event, and unfortunately the weather just didn't really cooperate with us that day. As part of the write-up, Brianna noted it was all boom this year because we've shut off the fireworks so that people had to watch it from the University of Houston parking lot and from the Smart Financial Center parking lots, just because the close proximity to lightning in our area. We had our emergency management staff was on site collaborating with us and the park staff, as well as the police department on tracking the storms. And we also used, high-tech equipment to be able to track where lightning strikes were occurring in the area. And there were lightning strikes occurring as close as 4 miles to within the site. And according to our emergency management folks, within even 10 to 20 miles is very concerning. So to have it at 4 miles was a great concern to our emergency management, and they just didn't feel safe having people shuttle into the site and then being basically, isolated on the site with no cover. So the call was made to just have it viewed from the surrounding areas. And we got amazing amount of really positive feedback from the folks that did go to University of Houston and Smart Financial and watch the fireworks from there. One of the plans all along, as far as locating where the fireworks would be shot off from, was that we wanted to put them where they could be very visible from these surrounding areas and parking lots. So that thought process went into where exactly the fireworks were launched from. So that paid off in the long run, because when we were originally planning this, we weren't really knowing. We planned July 4th for 4 to 6 months before we actually start. So even at that time, we weren't exactly sure where we were going to be with COVID and distancing and just concerns like that. So we knew going in that as far back as January and February that it might still be, a concern. As it turned out, it probably wouldn't have been, but it worked out well as could be expected given the storm conditions. We had everything really ready and set to go, and things were looking really good. And then the rain just started coming in around 3:30 that day, and then just didn't let up till almost time for the event to start. But even when the rain stopped, there was still lightning strikes noted in the area. But kind of disappointing, but we think the people that did come out and did get to see the fireworks show were happy to see it. So hopefully we'll have better situation next year for Red, White, and Boom. Next slide. So coming up in August, we're going to go back to Oyster Creek Park because it's really nice and shaded there. The whole area around the stage has shade now in the afternoon and evening. And we held a movie night back last year in July. It turned out really well, had a good attendance. The setting was very comfortable with the shade in the evening. So we decided to bring back the movie series there this year. And this is sort of a continuation of our Food Truck Fridays, but instead of having a DJ or a band, we're going to have a movie as part of this one. So if you get a chance to come out on the 13th, 20th, or 27th, please come out and join us. Hopefully the rain will stop by then and we can get through these events this time. Next slide. Just one other thing before I go into the questions, I was going to add that actually two things. We've got a senior center study survey out that just was sent out into last week to our volunteers, and then it's going out on our social media now, and we're sending it out to all of our seniors that are current seniors. But this survey is to help us plan for the future of our seniors program. The seniors program has grown by leaps and bounds over the years, and demographics are telling us that Sugar Land's population is going to continue to be strong with seniors. A high percentage of residents will be seniors, so we anticipate the program continuing to grow. During COVID and having to close the center for a year sort of put us a little behind where we had hoped to be at this point. But the survey, like I said, just went out. We've already gotten over 250 responses so far. Our goal is to get about 500 to 600 responses. And at that level, that's considered a statistically valid survey for our population for City of Sugar Land. So we think with the quick start that we're getting, we should be able to get to that. Kimberly just popped that up on the screen, which is a link to the senior survey, but we can also send that out to you in a separate email if you'd like to look at it. We're not limiting it to seniors. We'd like to get feedback from more people, especially if you have parents that might be of that age, or you're going to be getting into that age within the next 10 to 15 years. just trying to get more general input from everybody on that. So keep your eye out for that one. And also, last month, you received a presentation on the Gold Star Memorial Monument that's being proposed for Sugar Land Memorial Park. And we took the board's input for really trying to tie the monument onto the site with some of the materials that are already used on the site, because the materials on the monument that they're proposing, the black granite with the gold, isn't exactly what we have in the park, but by trying to bring in some of the materials within the park already, which is, what we heard from the board, we took that information, and Funlin did a really nice job of color rendering and design, which includes a stone seat wall that matches the front entry wall into the park, and use materials and tree planting locations that would provide shade and some buffering to kind of soften the area around the monument. We also looked at the solar orientation of how the sun would set through the opening of the soldiers in the monument itself, and Funlin was able to find really for that exact area, the solar orientation of where the sun would be setting, especially during the sunnier times of the year, setting in the site there, and tried to position that as much as possible to highlight that effect of the sunlight coming through the soldier. And so in the director's report that I sent, or that Tricia sent out earlier today, there's a drawing of that included on that director's report, so that you might, if you get a chance to look at, you can see how it really tried to tie in with all the comments that we received from the board at the last meeting. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has from the director's report.
Yeah, so I'm going to go rogue, and I'll just take questions generally. So if you have questions, please speak up. No questions?
I'd like to say that, first of all, kudos for you guys checking how the sun is going to set through that sculpture. That's amazing. That's so aesthetic and so artistic. I'm so happy to hear that. And then let's see, I wrote some things down, and I love the idea of the murals that are positive messages for those people who are struggling for whatever reason. And my idea that came to me is possibly give it as a contest to high school or middle school students. And, it could be called Strength in Numbers, and it could have the population of Sugar Land, and then Sugar Land cares about you. You're not alone, something like that in simpler terms. And then Heart Help was the other thing that came up. And the bridge mural is beautiful if y'all haven't seen it. And I love the little free library in little birdhouses in Arkansas, where I go to visit a friend in the Ozarks. That's the first place I go, is to this little birdhouse that has free books. So that would make people happy, because books give you so many positive messages and you learn so much from them. So good ideas. And thank you, Joe, for a wonderful report, and Ho-Jin for leading the meeting. And good seeing everybody.
Thank you, Joe, for great comments. Kelsey Johnson?
Yeah, this is kind of a late question regarding the phase 2, or I don't know if we're calling it phase 2 or phase 3 of the Brazos River Park and the pump track. But what's the timeline in terms of like starting construction, or estimated, when can we start using it?
We're in pretty good shape on this one. The funding is available. Like William touched on, we do have to take it to the University of Houston because we leased that property from them. And part of our agreement with them is they get to review what we're proposing to use the site for and to build there. Based on the feedback we've gotten from our economic development folks, are the ones that work closely with them. They said it's about a 90-day process for their review. And we've submitted everything that basically you all saw tonight. And so that's working its way through the process now. hopefully, if all goes well, maybe we can be groundbreaking in the fall. Fingers crossed. So
great. Anyone else? Thank you, Kelsey, by the way. Thank you. Anyone else?
It's Heather. And just to clarify that last comment, Joe, so groundbreaking to start construction in the fall, is that what you meant?
That's what I guess.
And how long is the construction estimated? Maybe like
William, oh, it would be quite a bit less than that. They actually come in, we've seen videos watching them build it. It's actually a really pretty quick process because there's not a lot of earth moving around and all that. So they bring a lot of the material in, and it's use small equipment and a lot of manpower to get it done. William, did you ever have discussions with them about how long they thought it would take actually once they broke ground?
And this would be both for the pump track and Bunglin's phase 2 project, right?
The phase 3.
Phase 3
actually,
project.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. But I was talking primarily about the pump track.
Okay.
Now the phase 3, we're working. We will need to be hiring a consultant to do that. So we were in the process of. We just actually held a meeting today to visit with them about a contract to do the final design. Now I would imagine the phase 3 work will be. I would say winter to maybe even spring before we're done with design on that. And so we're probably looking at next spring or so to hopefully be breaking ground on that.
My computer froze up, Joe. Sorry about that. No, American Ramp Company really didn't give me a time on construction, but I'm betting you it's probably close to the 45-day mark, 45-day, maybe less.
Oh. So pump track maybe this year, and then phase 3 looks like end of 2022 or something like that.
Probably about like that.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and my only other comment was, I know you guys spent a lot of time on that Red, White, and Boom celebration. So even though it didn't occur, I just want to let everyone know, thanks for all the planning efforts that went into that. We went and watched it from the parking lot. So it was nice to see the fireworks anyway. The kids liked watching it from the car anyway. So it was a great show. So thanks for all the efforts putting that together. I did have just one question about the new Food Truck Fridays being at the Oyster Creek Park. Just curious, do you guys do any anything regarding like mosquitoes? Because I know anytime we go out to the park late, we just get eaten up by those guys. So
our parks are on the city's mosquito spraying contract. So they do spray, but when those trucks, it's not like they can get way back into the parks. So, you know, we're only about as good as they can get from the parking lots and areas. We do some of our own spraying before events, just into the areas where people are congregating, and you know, sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. So it is always a challenge, but we do try to do some isolated spraying specific to those areas before the events. But I would always advise to bring your own off.
Yeah, we got our off spray. Yeah. We'll always have that ready for sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
This is Kelly. Can I jump in?
Oh, absolutely, please.
Okay, 2 quick things. I think it is excellent that you're doing Sweet Soiree for, family inclusive. That is just wonderful. Really good news. And then also, what are you using to kill off the Cullinan Park vegetation?
It's a combination of things. William, I might have to defer to you on that. He's got all the names of the sprays down. But it's all approved by Texas Parks and Wildlife. We had to go through an extensive planning effort with Texas Parks and Wildlife and use the things that they recommended. But I'll turn it over to you, William.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Not only did we fill out the permit before we sprayed at White Lake with herbicides through Texas Parks and Wildlife, who also gave out a public notice to all the registered people that were signed up for that public notice. We also, I have aquatic pesticide applicator license, but so does Lake Management also has one. But before that, we took it a step further. And about 8 months before I did the herbicide treatment through the Cullinan Conservancy, who's funding it, by the way, we did a White Lake vegetative management plan with Texas Parks and Wildlife. And that took several months to do with them. And they did an on-site visit with me. And we looked at all the vegetation. And a lot of the vegetation was non-native invasive, water hyacinth, water lettuce, and coontail, which is invasive, non-native. So really it was a reduction of that. The plan is to leave about 20 to 40% of the vegetation, as we all know that not all vegetation in the lake is bad, but we did need to reduce it. And the cattails are good, but they were getting overwhelming amounts of cattails in the shallow areas, making kayak lanes and fishing really difficult. We used fluoridone, Sonar Genesis fluoridone for the treatment for the underwater plants, coontail, and hydrilla. And then we used Roundup, basically a water-approved Roundup called Cinco for the above floating water hyacinth and water lettuce. And I know that's probably more information than you wanted to know, but it was all approved through our TDA licenses and a permit through Texas Parks and Wildlife. We also broke it up in several applications to avoid a quick kill, which can, when the plants are decaying, can cause oxygen depletion issues in the water and cause fish kills. So we broke up the spraying over 14-day intervals per TDA requirements. We read the label and followed the label to the law. And we also did a mechanical cutting on the cattails, and that was not a herbicide treatment. That is a aquatic mower, a very expensive aquatic mower, and Lake Management owns 2 of them, and we used them to cut down the cattails, and no herbicide was used on that mechanical cutting. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, I mean that's amazing that you did. I did want all those details, and that was really good to know. I was curious about how you prevented the fish kill, so that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, William. That was very good details for the treatments. Anyone else? Questions or comments? No? All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to just finally say thank y'all for all your hard work. And I will mimic what Heather has said about the Red, White, and Boom event. We were out there, had great, I still had a great time. The food was good, the drink, and everyone was still nice. And unfortunately, like I said, it got canceled, at least for the event itself, not the fireworks. But thank y'all for all the hard work y'all put in, for everything you do in the background. William, I saw you out there. I know you've been out there for a long period of time trying to prepare for that event. So thank y'all. I mean, because I know there's a lot of background work that y'all do that we don't see at all. So again, much appreciation for that level. So with that said, I'll take a motion to conclude our today's meeting for the Parks Board.
I'll make a motion that we.
Thank you, Joan. And the second?
It's Heather, I'll second.
Thank you, Heather. So Joan and Heather made the motion. So with that said, we are concluding today's Parks Board meeting, and I appreciate everyone's time and effort. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank y'all. Good night.